The Mr. Clean lookalikes invade for our next action feature. Hello there, everybody in the land of cyberspace, and welcome back once again to RealScreenReviews.com. I am, of course, movie critic Nick Iacobucci, happily joined by my guest critic, the returning critic, the lovely Debbie D'Angelo. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, I got to tell you, I love Mr. Clean.
I know she does.
And
that's
these two
why,
are sexy
yeah,
too.
that's why I said that. I actually mentioned to Mr. Clean because she's always saying how
he's sexy.
Like men that don't have any hair are still very much attractive to Debbie over there.
And a lot of other women.
Okay, I agree. I agree, especially when you're talking about the two gentlemen that are in this film, which
Mr. Clean.
Which I guess Mr. Clean, the animated guy, could be pretty. Well, anyway, this is a movie review, is it not? Okay, well, we're going to review the movie Parker, and that movie opened on Friday, January 25th, 2013, and it stars Mr. Clean lookalike #1, Jason Statham. Mr. Clean lookalike #2, Michael Chiklis. It also stars Jennifer Lopez and Nick Nolte. It comes to us from Academy Award nominated producer and director Taylor Hackford, the person that brought us the movies Ray with Jamie Foxx, An Officer and a Gentleman way back with Richard Gere, and The Devil's Advocate with Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to my lovely guest critic to tell us a little bit about Parker. And I already know that you know out there that he's bald and attractive. So without that, go ahead.
Parker is actually the name of Jason Statham's character, and he's, well, a crook.
Yes,
and
professional.
Yeah, professional crook, and he's then on this heist with his other buddies who then, of course, double-cross him. So he is plotting his revenge to be able to get his take of the original heist. So as he's plotting this and setting the scheme up, his path intersects with Jennifer Lopez's. And she is a realtor who, I have to say, kind of puts herself, she interjects herself into his schemes, because in her own words, her life stinks, it's boring, and she needs the money. Okay,
now I usually try to guess whether or not Debbie enjoyed the movie or not, and I'm going to say you're probably on the fence on this one, but I would say you didn't like it, and I don't know why. I'm just going to say you didn't like it.
I am on the fence about this one, and I have to tell you, I was so disappointed because I love those three characters we just mentioned. They're multi-talented. I admire their work, and I was actually thinking this movie would be better than it was.
I agree totally, and I'm going to start by saying that, you know, Statham, he makes good movies like Snatch and Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. He makes standard action films like Crank and The Transporter, and I think that this film kind of falls into the latter category. It's just kind of it's an average kind of standard film, and there's no real surprises that go with it. And I think as the journey continues, you want to watch it and you want to see how the movie ends. And it's not a terrible film, but it's just one of those movies that
it stalled.
Yeah, it really needed to be faster as it progressed.
I think they could have edited some out. It seemed to be a lot of repetition at points.
At 2 hours, it was almost 2 hours, and I thought it was about 15 minutes too long.
And to tell you the truth, I was so disappointed that there was no romance between J-Lo and Jason.
And they make it a point to say that in the script like a couple times. And the movie even ends with, she's like, I guess I never really had a chance. And it's like the movie has nothing to do with those two romantically linked. And I think they kind of advertised the movie that it's going to be that way. And that's why I felt maybe a little shortchanged, because I love Jennifer Lopez.
Do you remember that movie she was in with George Clooney? Where
yeah,
he was
Out of Sight. That's one of my favorite films of all time.
I thought it was going to be like that.
Right.
Kind of a conflicted love, because one's on the good side of the law and one's on the bad side of the law. No. You know,
and another thing too is I read with an article with J-Lo where she said that she was drawing on her own personal experiences because she's not having a very good she's not at a good point in her life in this film, and she said when she was making this movie, she wasn't at a good point in her life personally because of her divorce and stuff like that. And I was just expecting a little more out of her. Her character's pretty one-dimensional. I mean, it's just like, really just kind of there. And
okay, and let me just say, and I love J-Lo. I think she's multi-talented. I really like her, and she is gorgeous. But there's a scene in there. She's not nude, but she's practically nude. And I feel like they just put it in there because she was, just in there. And it made no sense to me. There was no context. I just thought, that's like gratuitous.
Okay, and the movie's violent. The movie is, it's graphically violent. I mean, I guess you know, it is rated R. I guess I wasn't expecting it to be as violent as it was. But there was a couple things, and I have them in my notes here, that stood out. I mean, I love to pick out, like, specifics of just dumb things. And the first one was, like in this movie, he jumps into it when he's at the hospital, he's fixing himself up, and he jumps into an ambulance and he escapes through it. And I'm thinking to myself, how far would you possibly get in an ambulance that was stolen from a hospital. I mean,
that's exactly what I said to my husband during the movie.
Which made me think of The Fugitive, where Harrison Ford doesn't get 4 feet from the parking lot, and the FBI and everyone else is after him.
Not to mention that he was half dead.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And he was still able to drive.
Yes.
And another one that stood out was right at the end, and like it has to deal with this big heist of like the crown jewels, and it's like $100 million, and there's like one fire truck that shows up, and it's the crooks, and they're undercover, and you know, Michael Chiklis says to the guy, "Nobody comes in here unless I give the okay." I'm like, dude, there's $100 million worth of jewels in there, and some schmo fireman's gonna start barking orders about, and you know, there would definitely be people in that room. They would have cared more for those jewels than they did in this plot. I mean, there was a lot of holes in this plot. It was.
How about her mom? The character of her mom, at first, I thought, oh, this is an unlikable character. But then they kind of developed her character, and at the end, I liked her mom.
I did too, and I thought she was one of those characters. I could see there being a lot of deleted scenes with I can't remember the actress's name.
And the dog.
And I knew you'd like the dog.
The show.
And she loves dogs, so I knew that she would like that too. All right, well, I mean, I guess like I said, I'm going to be very generous with this one, and I'm going to say 2.5 stars. And
I can't believe it. We're agreeing.
I'm being very generous with 2.5 stars.
2.5 hearts.
Okay, 2.5 hearts from Debbie, 2.5 stars from me. And like I said, I'm gonna precede that with a very generous 2.5 stars.
Wait until it comes on TV.
Well, I would say this is the way I would describe it. There's some movies that you just go to the movies just to be entertained, and this is definitely one of those films. If you like The Expendables, if you like Jason Statham, you're going to like this movie. I would say even if you're a diehard Jennifer Lopez fan.
I love them both. Yeah, and Michael Chiklis, and I'm still only giving this movie 2.5.
You might say, yeah, I liked it. It was a good way, but you know, I mean, if
it's better than a colonoscopy.
That's a good way to describe it. However, I'm saying if you go on Saturday night with a date and you're spending $25 on tickets, maybe $30 on tickets, and then you might be disappointed with Parker.
And your date will probably be like this, if the female.
Okay, so this is one of the ones I'm going to tell the people out there. We're saying moderate to okay. It's up to you. If you go see this one and you don't like it, it's kind of on your shoulders. But
if
Debbie,
you're sitting at home crying in your beer, then go see this movie.
Absolutely. If it's raining out and there's nothing else to do, go see Parker. But Debbie, thank you so much for being here. And like I said, we're pretty much right on the fence on this one. 2.5 hearts, 2.5 stars out of 4. And remember, people, we're not always right, but only when it comes to the movies. And thank you for your attention.